This is Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. It's powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. To get an extended 30-day trial, visit shopify.com/masters. Hey entrepreneurs, my name is Felix and I'm the host of the Shopify Masters podcast. Each week we put out podcast interviews with successful e-commerce entrepreneurs or experts to give you inspiration, motivation, and actionable tips to increase your traffic and sales so your store can generate the sales you need to live the life you want. In the last episode, Dave Andrews from Old Guys Rule explains how and why he targets the baby boomer market. In this episode, you'll learn from an entrepreneur that started a business that's donated $1 million to other aspiring entrepreneurs. In this episode, you'll learn why you should find a business you can afford to fund yourself, where you should look towards to improve your supply chain, and how to approach and pitch a retailer. Today, I'm joined by Zach Holzapfel from MissionBelt.com. It's MISSIONBELT.com. Mission Belt sells belts where $1 from every belt goes to fight poverty and was started in 2012 and based out of Orem, Utah. Welcome, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having us on, Felix.
Yeah, excited to have you on. So tell us a bit more about your store and what are these belts that you sell? Tell us more about these belts.
Well, first and foremost, we make the best pants holder upper on the market.
Nice.
We make belts for men. And they're unique in that instead of, a traditional belt that is only adjustable, every inch, a Mission Belt uses a special device that makes it micro-adjustable. So you get the perfect fit every time. So whether you just won like a taco eating competition or you've been, sucking weight for the Christmas pictures or something, your Mission Belt is going to fit you every time. And, we have great style and comfort and usability, all branded, all put into one fantastic product. And then almost as important as our product is our mission. We're called Mission Belt because, like you said, $1 from every belt we sell goes to fight poverty around the world through micro-lending. We partner with Kiva, which is a peer-to-peer micro-lender that we're lending in over 70 countries worldwide, mostly focused on agricultural businesses so entrepreneurs can, take control of their destiny, and we give them what they need, which is capital, which is money to start up their own businesses and to, end the poverty cycle. And so that's what the mission is behind Mission Belt, and that's what we're about.
Awesome. You definitely want to talk a little bit more about the micro-lending in a second, but just want to kind of jump in and say that's awesome that the money that you go to actually helps other entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. I think that's a really cool, cause that you have. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started. Like, what's your background? Like, how did you get into the idea of creating these belts?
Well, like most entrepreneurs, you don't start dreaming that this is what you're going to do, but, life takes you down a path and doors open and opportunities present themselves and you take those chances. That's the entrepreneurial spirit, right? We roll the dice a lot. And so I lived all over the United States and I've lived outside the country as well a few times growing up. My dad's a professor, so we lived in the Middle East and then lived in Central America for a few years and studied at Brigham Young University, political science, because I was just fascinated with the world and everything that was going on in it. And my first job out of college was with an international trust firm. And that also kept me on the road, kept me traveling like 9 months out of the year. And that's when we started diving into different kinds of businesses and those different kind of opportunities that randomly kind of present themselves, and ended up in manufacturing in Mexico and Panama, making bed components for bed manufacturers, mattress manufacturers. And so we'd make foams and springs and gels and everything that you can, that you need to make a bed. And just from there, different projects, and we started doing some small lending to, friends and people we knew. We started with one in Panama, where we bought me and my partner, Jeff Jensen, we bought a bus in Florida and sent it down to Panama so a good friend of ours could start his own business with a bus line. And one bus grew to two to three, and we got this idea about micro-lending, and we said, whatever our next business is, let's tie our success in that business on a one-to-one basis to this micro-lending idea to help other entrepreneurs control their destiny and do what they need to do to like we were saying, break the poverty cycle. And so when we came up with when we thought of the mission first, and then we thought of the product that we were going to tie to it, and that's how when we came across belts. We said, this is the kind of product we like because, like mattresses, it's something everybody uses. And so we don't need the entire market. We just need a portion of the market to be successful. And we love the belts. And it's a sleepy, tired product. And so we wanted to breathe, new life into it. And so that's the product we went with. But like most entrepreneurs, it's an interesting story. And being an entrepreneur is more than just making money, because there's lots of ways to skin a cat and lots of ways to make money. But entrepreneurs, we like the stories, we like the experiences, we like the variety. We like to choose who we work with, when we work, things like that. So like most entrepreneurs, it's an interesting tale, and it wasn't planned out, but that's where I came from anyway.
Awesome. So it sounds like you had some criteria when you were thinking about starting your next business. You said that it needed to be a product that everyone needs. A belt, everyone needs a belt, and it sounded like you wanted to also find an opportunity where you could breathe new life into a product or into a category. Were there any other kind of, things that you wanted to make sure you could check off before you decided to go ahead with your next business idea?
The usual things. We wanted to find something that was easily accessible. Manufacturing was like a big part of it. Supply chain, the normal things that you would look at in a business. Funding, things like that. But those are kind of the same kind of checklist that you'd go through with any kind of business. But we do like the idea that it's a very common kind of product, something that people will buy multiple times in a year, that they want and accessorize and that they need even. So as long as people are still wearing belts, that's the thing. We got suspenders and drawstrings. That's our biggest concern, right?
That's funny. Yeah. So tell us a little more about this. One of the criteria you mentioned, which is about funding. Like, what are you looking for, or what did you look for when you were evaluating the products, and how did it? What about funding? Yeah,
that's a great question. And when I say, funding, we didn't actually. We wanted to be self-funded. Jeff had an e-commerce background, and we had been partnered up on lots of different deals over the last, 8 years or so. And so we decided we wanted to find a product that we could afford to fund ourselves as well. So that just comes into, the math of a business. And so some businesses, like we wanted to start a car company or something like that, we'd obviously have to invest very heavily and look outside our own finances to fund it. But belts is a perfect category for people like ourselves that, we have some investment capital, but, nothing, no staggering. And so belts are perfect for that because, it's not a high-end kind of investment. So that was the criteria that we were looking at.
Cool. So do you think that is like a preference, or do you think that should be something that everyone should lean towards, meaning they should always lean towards finding a business that they can bootstrap rather than something that's more capital intensive that's going to require outside investment?
No, I'm not afraid of debt or bringing on investors or partners or funding. It just so happened that at the time when we were doing this, we had other projects going. I was still involved very heavily in mattresses, and Jeff was very involved with his projects. And so we didn't want to bring on investors or capital unless we were going to dedicate, 100% of our time to it. And, because as we've grown, it's totally taken over all of our other projects. And so now we are fully invested. But at the time, we didn't want it to be, 70 hours a week kind of a thing. But it grew faster and bigger than we ever imagined. So it has taken up all of our time. But no, I wouldn't say that that's just like key to every business. I think if you have a great idea and you need funding, go get the funding, make it happen. So I wouldn't steer away from borrowing or taking on debt or investors or anything like that.
Makes sense. So another thing you mentioned was regarding manufacturing. So what were you looking for? I guess what do you consider when you think about picking a business or picking a product to build in regards to manufacturing?
So with my mattress background in manufacturing in Mexico and Panama, supply chain's a real important thing. You don't want to sell a product or make a product that is going to have problems in that supply chain. You want to be able to act quickly and, reactive to the demand that your product has. And so when you're looking at something, if it's, you've got one supplier or you need a special material that is short or hard to get, then, those are things to consider. And luckily with belts, leather is a very common product around the world. And, we use all sorts of different kinds of metals, but it's all pretty standard. We can pretty much make our belts anywhere. And so that was something that, you always want to look at is supply chain.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense, because these are obviously the raw ingredients that are needed to actually have a product. So when you sit down and think, or when the entrepreneur out there is sitting down and thinking about building their first product or getting their first product made, you mentioned a couple of things there. One is that there isn't just one supplier, and then also about the ease of access to the material. So how do you begin this kind of research? Like, how do you find out if the material that you're getting is going to be rare or not? And then also, how do you find out, or I guess, how do you work with multiple work with multiple suppliers?
Yeah, so it all depends. If you're going to be manufacturing yourself, then obviously all you have to do is find those raw materials. And you find those raw materials by just shopping them out, feeling out your market. For us in the mattress business, we were making all of our parts. Also, all we needed was like raw materials, for instance. And so we had to look for oils and foams and things like that. But, those that were, and some of them were actually really hard to get. There were only like 2 suppliers in the world that made, a polymer that we really needed. And then that was always something you had to think about and keep on hand. And then when it comes to belts, much easier to source. But again, if you're not manufacturing yourself, you're using suppliers, it's always a great idea to have multiple suppliers, not rely or put all your eggs in 1 or 2 or even 3 baskets only. Spread it out, and that'll help you also control your price so that you get to play suppliers off one another and keep them honest. But it's just a matter of reaching out and getting those bids, those quotes, and visiting the factories. So it's just a matter of time and energy and feeling out the market. So it's not hard. It just takes time. And if you're manufacturing overseas, you just need to find people that you can work with that can do your legwork for you if you can't be there. But it's pretty simple. It should never be a hindrance. The manufacturing aspect of the business, it's not as complicated as it might seem.
So, given your experience with manufacturing these belts and obviously with your bed manufacturing experience, where would you recommend an entrepreneur or business owner start to look at first if they want to evaluate their supply chain? Let's say that they started a business and they have all the manufacturing and everything set up, but they haven't revisited since. If they were to go back and look and say, let me see how I can improve this, where do you recommend they take a look at first?
You mean if they're trying to add like a new supplier or a new?
But I guess just to, I'm assuming that you've probably optimized your supply chains based on the amount of experience that you have in there. Like, where do you see the most, issues with other businesses that have a supply chain that might not be as optimized as yours?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the thing with manufacturing is that you can never get complacent. You can't just be like, oh yeah, we have this great guy and he just makes our product and it's just like clockwork. You have to continually be visiting your quality control, your manufacturing processes, your standards, your shipping, your cost, your raw cost, your deliver cost, your shipping, all that kind of stuff kind of adds up to your product cost and quality. And it's just something you never let up on. You always have to be doing your quality control. You always have to be innovating. And you can't sleep on the job. You just have to go over it with every PO, with every purchase, or with every run. So you just can't be complacent, I guess I would say. And then by doing that, you are going to always get a better deal, a better product, better time, whatever it is you're looking to optimize. By continually revisiting it and going around to your different manufacturers, you'll keep them on their toes and keep your product fresh.
Yeah, was this kind of, keeping, like you're saying, keeping your suppliers, keeping your supply chain honest, like these activities that you were doing, were they easy for you to do when you were, a smaller player at the time, or was it something that you had? Was it more of like a luxury, I guess, that came along after you become larger or a bigger buyer from the suppliers?
Yeah, there's always people who want your business, even if you're small and ordering, a couple pallets even. There's people who want that business and manufacturers that size that do want it. But as you grow and you're bringing in containers and making large purchase orders, then you're obviously become a more important part of their business. Then it becomes, yes, like you were saying, just it becomes that much easier. But there's always going to be players and manufacturers that are catering to the smaller businesses, and they want your business as bad as you want your own business to grow. So you can do that. So yeah, it gets easier as you grow, and you have a lot more sway when you're bringing when you got a couple 40-foot containers of product being made for you by a factory. So it gets easier.
Awesome. So when you are working with these manufacturers, these suppliers, and you're trying to get a better deal or find more ways for them to help you and your business out, do you make it known that you're shopping around? Like, how do you, I think you're saying earlier that there's some kind of playing them off of each other. Like, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how do you approach these suppliers to get the best deal out of, the relationship?
Yeah, the best thing that's worked for me always has been transparency. I never pretend that we're giving an exclusive deal to somebody. I never, and I'm more than happy to share costs. Can you beat this price? Can you match this price? And sometimes we ask for more than that. And, it seems to be, in my opinion, the best way that your manufacturers and your suppliers realize how you operate and will fight for that business, knowing what the possible, outcome will be, what kind of orders we're looking at and things like that. So, I don't like to hype it and tell them, hey, we can send, 5 million orders your way or 5 million units your way, if I'm really not planning on doing that. And I think, just being open and transparent with them is a wise.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's definitely, less time wasted on everyone's hands when everything's put up front. That makes sense. So you knew that you picked this product that you knew that you wanted to have built. What was the first step? Like, you knew that it had to be made. Did you have to get a design? Like, what were the very first steps towards actually getting the product created? Yeah,
we have an interesting product in that it's been around for 20 years. A belt similar to ours. It's been around in Asia and Europe for a long time. And a few other companies, larger companies like Dockers, have actually tried to sell a belt very similar to ours, this micro-adjusting belt, this no-holes belt. And they fell right on their face. They thought, this is an improved belt, people will buy it. But that it doesn't just sell itself. There has to be some education involved. And there has to be some kind of, branding behind it and make it interesting and fun. And people, want to buy something more than just a product. And so it's been around. And so when we saw it, we thought, we need to make some changes to it to make it ours. There's some things that we changed and upgraded, and it became our belt. But there's similar belts out there. And so our process was, we found a couple of manufacturers that could make the changes that we wanted. And we made those changes really simply. We didn't even go through a design, firm or anything like that. We just basically told them we want a mold made and we want these features to be included into it. And we did, several samples back and forth until we got it exactly how we wanted. And then we just started, designing, which was more of a from a fashion kind of perspective. What we pretty much made a product that we would wear, that we would like, and that we think our friends and others would like. And so that was pretty easy for us as well.
Mm-hmm. So what was the timeline between picking the product and actually having the very first shipment that was ready to be sold?
I would say we because we were involved in other projects at the time more heavily, this wasn't this was a side kind of thought, and so we weren't spending much time on it. I'd say we probably took 6 months to get up from, deciding that, hey, we want to do this, to actually getting our first small shipment to sell.
Makes sense. So I know you mentioned just a few seconds ago about how you were building a product that you would wear yourself, that your friends would also wear. Did you have to do any testing or validating of that? Because obviously, if it's you or your co-founder or your other employees, it's easy to do that validation. But did you have to get out into the market and find out if A, people but people like the belt, and B, did they care about the mission?
Well, the mission was, the mission was always going to be a bonus. We always wanted the product to sell for itself, and that, people find out there's a mission, there's some kind of added value to that. And we were going to do it no matter what. And we don't even, we don't push the mission that much because, like I said, first and foremost, we make a pants holder upper that is second to none. And that's what we want people to think of when they think of Mission Belt initially. And we never really had to do any kind of test market. We believed in the product right away. And so we never really did the test or go out into the market. We just brought in a small shipment and started selling them. And, when you find a product that you believe in, that you think is the better mousetrap, it's that easy.
So do you remember how big that first shipment was, or you said there was a small shipment?
Very small shipment, I think. And we were pretty naive when we came into the business originally. We were like, oh yeah, we'll do belts and we'll do it in black and brown and white, And then our very first order, I think, was like something like just several thousand units, maybe 8,000 units, split up between black, brown, and white. And our first sales were, to retailers. And that was their first thing. Oh, these are great. Where's the other colors, right? And we're like, oh, okay, you guys need a lot. And then sure enough, they want a big variety if they're going to, bring on a brand. They don't want to bring on a brand for just, 3 SKUs. They want dozens. And so we quickly found out we need to expand our line ASAP. And we did, and we reacted to that.
Yeah, so you, usually when I have a guest on a podcast, I ask them, how they got their first X number of sales. But you rather, a lot of people would say, they sold to friends and family, they sold the trunk of their car. But you went straight to talking to the retailers. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how did you approach them? How did you even get the chance to talk to them?
Yeah, so like I said, Jeff and I, we have been entrepreneurs, and we knew we didn't want to start a business just selling to friends and family. We were only interested in doing, a business that we felt was, independent on its own, And so we started our first sale. We went to our local, actually my brother, who was another partner, he went to the local golf course country club and talked to the club pro, and he loved the belts right off the bat, right? So that was actually our very first sale into the country club. And then the country club, a lot of business people in the Valley are members of that country club. And some of them own, suit stores or lifestyle stores or skate shops. And they bought the belts inside the country club, and then they would reach out to us and be like, hey, I just got your belt at the Riverside Country Club. We love it. Can we carry it in our stores? And so that was our initial kind of, that was our very first sale was there. And from that very first sale came, dozens of other retailers, and they're all kind of like local chains, which are fabulous. And, that's how we got started. That's how we decided, okay, we've got a product that can run. And that's how we decided to bring in more and new varieties, new SKUs. So that was our path. And, obviously at the same time in conjunction, we started with like Amazon. And of course we had our own webpage, Shopify, but nobody was surfing to our sites until we started selling, into retail.
So was this when you guys went to this country club to first pitch and sell the belts, was this your first beginning attempt at selling them, or was this just your first yes? Like, were there a string of no's and kind of rejections along the way, or did you have success right off the bat?
That was the very first attempt and the very first yes. And, we're not batting 1,000, but, if we get the chance to get in front of a buyer, the conversation it develops pretty well. And so we haven't had a lot of no's, but I mean, everyone's going to have no's. It's either the wrong season or they don't want to invest in accessories or what have you, or they already chose a different belt company to go with for the year. And so those will happen, but it just so happened that our first attempt was a success. And, we tried other avenues as well after that. And, some hits, some misses. But yeah, our very first one was fortunate. And, it took a couple of weeks or months for those retailers to come in, find the product. And, it helped that the club pro loved the product. He just was in love with it, and if we always say, if the salesperson's wearing our belt, he will or she will sell it to a customer because they actually love it. When you find a product you like, you talk about it.
Right.
You'd be like, oh, you're going to love this, you're going to love that. And so that was key in our initial success.
So this all happened within like a year, right? You had the idea. 6 months later, you had your first shipment, and then you said a few months you started pitching to the country clubs, and all of a sudden, within a few months, other retailers that frequented that club heard about the product and wanted to stock it themselves.
Yeah, we actually started selling to them. So we started in the fall of 2012, actually, officially, formally, and we made our first sale into the country club that fall. And retailers started getting on board. And then just 3 months after being in business, so in the winter, we applied to ABC's Shark Tank TV show. And we got accepted. So 3 months into business, and we had a few retail shops, local shops. We filmed on Shark Tank. And then from there, 6 months later, it aired. And so that changed things and sped things up dramatically as well.
Awesome. So I feel like there's a couple, nuggets here. So you were able to first identify a product that you yourself liked and that you knew other people had liked as well. There's a mission attached to it, and you went straight for a retailer, or went straight for, almost like a watering hole, for a bunch of retailers, which extremely magnified your reach and your ability to reach out to these retailers, and then all of a sudden get picked up by Shark Tank, or invited on to pitch on Shark Tank. So is this, path? Do you think that others could replicate this, or maybe could you replicate this path as well, or would you say there's some luck involved? What is a secret sauce to be able to execute on this so quickly?
I would say that luck is definitely involved in all this. So when we went to Riverside to sell, we didn't think of it as the watering hole necessarily, but it ended up being that watering hole. And, that was pretty much luck. But, it took the effort to go and make the initial pitches and sales. So I always like to say entrepreneurs, they all work hard. Everybody does. But when lightning strikes and you get that bit of luck that all businesses need, you got to capitalize on it and move fast. And that hard work comes into play in that, because there's entrepreneurs that work much harder than we do, that maybe have been doing it longer, that grind harder, and still haven't gotten, that initial bump that they're looking for. And it's just the opportunity hasn't presented itself yet. But I think if you start a business, you always are going to get some opportunity. And then so it's always just a question of capitalizing on those opportunities at each stage. And so I think we were very fortunate to have had those initial successes early on in our company. And, we've been running to catch up ever since, it feels like, which is a great problem to have, And so could we replicate it? I think we've learned a lot. We could do things like that. But definitely fate and luck come into play. I honestly believe that, there's a lot of luck.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's sometimes not talked about, these opportunities that come up. And I think one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur is what you're getting at, which is the ability to identify and then capitalize on these opportunities. So then I think one other, skill that needs to be developed is the ability to identify what's an opportunity versus what is a distraction. So how do you, approach it when there's something comes up, it looks like an opportunity, maybe it's disguised as an opportunity, but could actually distract you from the business? How do you know if it's actually something that's worth pursuing or not?
There are definitely a lot of distractions that pop up, especially once you start getting on people's radar. Mm-hmm. You get people coming by or emailing or pitching you or calling you all the time, trying to get what they want out of some kind of relationship. And so you definitely have to stay focused. I mean, a lot of people are begging us to come out with other products. You guys should make wallets. You guys should make socks. You guys should make this and that. And we feel like right now, at least, that those would be distractions. Like we really want to become the gorilla in the belt category. And until we do that, we're going to stay real focused and true to our core competency. And I guess that's what you just got to always be thinking about. Just last week, some sports team came to us and they want us to advertise and make a belt for their stadium. And, we have to evaluate that. Is this going to distract us from what we're doing? Or is this something that is going to add value to our brand and our business? And I guess just you have to go through that evaluation process. And there's always choices to be made, right, at every junction. And it's going to be different for every company. And the way they get there is always going to be different as well, I think. But, it's an evaluation. We work as a team. Everybody has a different idea or different insight or different experience. And I think that's what's important about partnerships as well. You bring on, you have partners that complement each other. Like if we were all just e-commerce guys or if we were all just salespeople, then we'd be missing all sorts of parts, right? But because we have different backgrounds and different strengths, you add it all up, there's complementary, input from everybody. And I think that helps you stay focused and stay, true to your course and your focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I've been telling a lot of entrepreneurs, especially lately, is that you have to say no more than you say yes to anything. Anybody asks you anything or these opportunities that come up. Have there been any, you don't get specific if you don't want to, but have there been any regrets that you've had from turning down an opportunity, from saying no to something that, that was an opportunity?
Not yet. We're selective about where our product can be sold. Partnerships, we want to be careful with those as well. So far, we haven't had any big regrets about passing up an opportunity or an offer. But then again, maybe they would have been great had we said yes. But no, right now, there's nothing glaring that we should have done.
Mm-hmm, makes sense. So one thing I wanted to talk about before we move off this subject about these retailers is approaching them. Like, so when you are thinking about approaching a retailer, or maybe if you have some advice for an entrepreneur that's thinking about approaching a retailer for the first time, like what are some ways that they can prepare to make sure that the meeting or the pitch or the opportunity goes well?
You just got to give them once you find the contact, which is probably like 90% of your effort is actually getting in front of the person who can make the decision to bring your product into their stores or their chain or whatever. But once you do, you just got to give them the vision of how this can increase their margin, increase their revenue, because that's why they're in business as well. They're not here to support you. We're here to support them, help them pay their mortgages, help them pay their employees. And so you got to give them a reason to buy your product.
Yeah, I think something I've heard recently that I thought was really interesting is that as an entrepreneur, your job is a lot of times is to be a servant, right? A servant for your customers, a servant for the retailers that you want to sell into. It's your job to find out what they need and help them fill that, and hopefully that obviously aligns with your goals as well. And I think you hit it on the head, because I think a lot of times people will approach retailers or people that they need help from and just think about how can you help me rather than how can I help you and have both of us benefit from it. So great point.
That's absolutely true. As a matter of fact, sometimes entrepreneurs say, well, it's better than working for someone. But the truth is I'm working for, hundreds of thousands of people, I feel like, and when it just even comes to the retail level, we ourselves are in over 1,200 doors, and I will take calls. And if there's somebody who's upset, I'm going to be occasionally I'm the one who is going to get escalated all the way up to me, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to try to find the pain and solve it for them. And that's also when you're approaching them, that's important. Find their pain and address it. Because the pain, at least in our business, is accessories move slowly. And, belts are in the corner of a store and there's cobwebs inside a cave. Nobody cares about them. It's an afterthought. Ralph Lauren makes a belt, but it's an afterthought. And all these big players make belts, but they don't focus on belts. And that's where we come in. We're a belt company. We're gonna sell. We're not just going to replace your belt sales. we're going to add to your belt sales. We're going to grow your belt business, and that's important. And if you can approach a store like that and tell them you're actually going to grow their business, not just replace the current product they sell, that does wonders.
Makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk, quickly about Shark Tank. I'm sure that you don't have any instructions on how to get on the show, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the appearance helped your business. Like, what was it like the weeks, maybe, or even days, I guess, after the show's airing? Like, what was the experience like?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's real intense. My brother's the one who actually went on and did the TV. I'm a little camera shy myself. They say the camera adds 10 pounds, and that's the last thing I needed, right? And so I was, I didn't actually appear, but it's very intense. It's very real. And, but what it did for our business that was so great is, when we're talking about mission belts and a new way, a belt without holes, it's hard to kind of imagine how that works. But TV is a perfect medium for us because we can show people, because it's basically a giant zip tie for your waist, right? And so people automatically understood right away, this is a neat product. This is a product I like. I like the mission. I like the style. And TV was awesome for us for that. And Shopify, I have to tell you, was just incredible because we specifically moved over to Shopify from like a WordPress site or something like that, before, running up to Shark Tank, because we knew Shopify could handle the kind of traffic that we were going to get from our Shark Tank experience. Matter of fact, we called up and talked to, a rep and notified him, hey guys, we're going to be on Shark Tank. We're expecting, a couple 100,000 hits, or at least 50,000 hits on the first night or something like that. And gave them the heads up. And a lot of people who appear on Shark Tank, if they're not prepared for it, with like a great platform like Shopify, their website crashes. They can't take orders. They miss the opportunity completely. So like I was saying, these opportunities come up, and it's about how you handle these opportunities. So a big part of our success was directly tied to Shopify. Shopify handled it. We didn't crash. It kept things rolling. We were able to keep selling. And capture all these great sales, plus get the exposure that we were looking for. And there was a long tail after Shark Tank, and I'd say Shopify was just magnificent for us and for that big explosion of traffic that we got off of being on national television.
That's great to hear. So tell us about the deal. Like, what did you guys come in, or what did your co-founder come in asking for, and then what did you end up getting?
Well, we actually originally, our pitch, so with Shark Tank, you send in a pitch, either video or an email, but we sent in a video, and my brother's he's entertaining. He's a card, and so he was already interesting just to watch. But our initial pitch was we were going to offer a part of the company, I think something like 5% for $1. Because the idea was we didn't really need the capital. We felt like we had enough money to get our business going. We wanted the Rolodex. We wanted the experience that came with one of the shark investors. And so that was our initial pitch to the producers. And they loved it at first. They were just like, oh, this is great, guys. Wonderful. And then as we got closer and closer to the filming, the producer said, oh, you know what? If we do this, it's going to turn our show into a circus. And then people are going to be offering to pay them to come in and help. And so they said, so we need a real valuation, and we need you to ask for a real amount of money. And so we ended up asking for something, and we made a deal on TV. And the deal afterwards, because our particular shark, Damon John, who's just phenomenal, I should say, with our particular deal, every deal is different. He didn't want to close the deal until we aired on TV, see how it went. And when he called us after our airing, he said, guys, I'm not going to hold you that deal. It's not a good deal for you. Let's do something different. So he's not a shark at all. Just a great guy, entrepreneur like us, who wants to just not take advantage of every situation. And so we were able to get a deal that was better, leaned towards us better, and made it work. And it was fantastic. So every deal is different, though. Every entrepreneur is different. So I can't say this is how it works, right? But in our case, that's how it worked.
Awesome. So I guess it's been about, 2 to 3 years since you've been working with Damon and his company. Has there been any, lessons that you can share with the audience that he's taught you about, running a business, about being an entrepreneur?
Well, he's a smart operator. He definitely gets it. If you get talk to Damon 101, you just really realize very quickly this guy understands retail. This guy understands business, and everything. He is kind of he's a mentor to us more than anything else, and everything he told us has been little nuggets that have helped us make good decisions.
Awesome. So, I wanted to talk about, I guess, the charitable arm of your business. And I know that you mentioned that. I know that it wasn't, I guess, the original. I guess it's not the reason that you're starting this business. But do you think that having a cause-based business like yours, just a cause-based business in general, gives you an edge over the competition, or does it affect the bottom line in a positive way?
It's a good question. I don't think anybody buys our product because there's a cause attached to it. Mm-hmm. And, we're a for-profit company. We just choose to donate $1 from every sale to micro-lending and, fighting poverty. And so I don't know if people buy it because of it, but it's definitely an added value. We just, we don't want you to just look good. We want you to feel good too. And we're young guys, and we've lived around the world. All of us, Jeff and Nate and me, we've all lived around the world. We see how everybody lives, and really, America's a great place. We really live in a blessed nation. We don't know what it's like out there for everybody else. Like, we can go to a bank and get a loan. And we decided, we have to be a part of something bigger. And so we were going to do this no matter what. And I don't know if it actually does increase our sales, but it really is who we are. And we're kind of, the biggest impact we can hope for, from Mission Belt is that other companies see that, hey, you can be successful and give back at the same time, and be a for-profit company and still give back and make a difference. Because we think that's the future. Governments don't seem very good at it, but individuals seem like they can make a difference, and companies like us, we feel like we can make a difference, and I think we are in the lives of the tens of thousands of people that we've gotten capital to.
That's awesome. So, you've grown the company. That I think you guys have a pretty sizable team now since the beginning of I guess, the business. How successful is the business today? Like, what are we, share as much as you're comfortable sharing about the success of it.
So, we donate $1 from every belt to our micro lending, and just this last week we crossed $1 million in micro loans. So we've now lent to over 40,000 unique individuals and over $1 million in loans just this last week. So you got me at a good time. We're really excited about that. We're going to send out the messages and do something about it, but we haven't had the time to do it yet. But we're going to, because it's a significant threshold that we just passed, and we're very excited about it. And it from the very beginning, we wanted to tie our success, not just one day we're going to do something and give back. We decided to tie it directly to an individual belt. So, John Doe goes and buys a belt, and that $1 right from there, that belt goes directly to help somebody start their business. And, loans range between $25 and $500 each. And like I said, we've done over 40,000 of these loans now to date. And so we're real happy about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what is your? I'm looking at some, data that I found about you guys. I'm not sure how updated this is, but it says here that you've employed now 20 people. Has the team grown since then, or what's the size of the team that works there?
It fluctuates during the year. Sometimes we have more during the holidays. We've had as many as 40 people, but now we do use a 3PL to do our fulfillment. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot less warehouse kind of work. But yeah, we're probably hovering, I think, at 25 right now. And so it's a lean team, but we're always entrepreneurs like us, at least our team, we're bootstrappers. Everybody in the company kind of wears multiple hats, and we've never upgraded offices to we pretty much still look like we're a startup, and that's who we are, though. We're not flashy. We don't blow our trumpet too loud, but we're we're doing great, and we're going to have a great year. Every year is better than last, which is can't ask for more than that.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of running the business itself, are there any particular apps, whether it be on Shopify or outside Shopify, that you and your team rely on to keep the business running?
Yeah, Shopify is awesome, and I love all the apps that work with Shopify. ShipStation is a huge thing for us, and it integrates with Shopify perfectly. MailChimp, we can stay in contact with our customers, offer promotions and sales, or just update them about new products and what's going on in the company. We have a pop-up, and I think we use Privy for that. That's a great Shopify app, and there's Yotpo, which helps us collect kind of reviews and feedback from customers. There's just a bunch of great apps that work with Shopify. Just even like Shopify Fraud Alert, it saves us lots of money, and so there's all sorts of stuff. But those are some of them that are really great. And then we live and breathe in Google Docs and Google Sheets, and the usual ones.
Definitely. So, $1 million in donations that you guys have been able to raise. Obviously, tons of success, a large team that you've grown. Like, what are the plans for the future? Like, what are you looking at a year out? Like, where do you guys want to be?
So, we keep focusing on what we're doing. We brought on some licensing. We do NBA, NHL, and NCAA belts, college sports and things like that. And so we've gone into licensing a bit, and we're growing always and bringing on new vendors. Some really good national ones are coming on, some new retail locations, and so we're at that stage where we're growing, and we're growing the wholesale side significantly, because at first we first started with wholesale, but our Shopify and our webpage soon took over as our number one source, and for probably over a year we were probably 90% online and 10% wholesale, and now we're starting to see that kind of balance out more, and I think that'll be our continual growth trajectory will be based on wholesale and online, but wholesale is growing because when you bring on a store that has 900 locations, that's significant, but they're both complementary. People see you in a store, they oftentimes look you up online as well. And so, we're just keep doing what we're doing, work on some strategic partnerships. But like I said, until we are that gorilla that everybody knows us and recognizes us as the belt company, we're probably not going to dabble into anything that distracts us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Zach. So missionbelt.com is the website. Again, it's missionbelt.com. Anywhere else you recommend the listeners check out if they want to follow along with what you guys are up to?
Mission Belt's going to be the best. Follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. There's always things, you can follow there about sales or promotions or new product launches. Just get on missionbelt.com or check out your local retailers. You'll find us in Zoomies and Journeys and some other big retailers out there, Nordstrom's, go try a Mission Belt. You'll love them.
Very cool. Thanks again so much, Zach.
Hey, thanks, Felix.
Thanks for listening to Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. To start your store today, visit shopify.com/masters to claim your extended 30-day free trial.